Hi, it's Pat Duckworth, the author of Hot Women Rock, How to Discover Your Midlife Entrepreneurial Mojo. We're into a new year now, 2019, and it's time to get some even more inspiration for your business and to find your passion. So my very special guest today is an integrative physician, an acupuncturist, a meditation teacher, and a #1 international best-selling author of several books. Following her extensive study of medical nutrition, positive psychology, and biohacking, it led to her creating a holistic media platform, Innate Vitality. You can see the spelling down below for that one. It blends ancient wisdom and modern science for enhanced vitality and life mastery. She's a highly acclaimed TEDx speaker, a visionary brand strategist for light workers, and the co-founder of the Real Self-Love movement. As a sought-after media personality, she has shared her candid, empowering insights on resilience on the Oprah Winfrey Show, the Dr. Oz Show, ITV This Morning, CNN, and the Today Show. Oh, there's so much more. I'm just going to stop there because we really need to talk to her. So it's hello to Dr. Andrea Pennington. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Pat. It's good to be connected again.
And we may be sharing our space with your little dog who appears every now and then. And he's very welcome. So,
thank you.
Andrea, tell us a bit about your early career. How did you start out?
Well, my adulthood started really, I think, when I went to medical school. I was always studying performance art in theater, television, voice, and dance. But somewhere along my university days, I felt like to have a real lasting impact in the world, the arts was probably not the best way to go. That's a whole other story, but I ended up following in my mother's footsteps and I went to medical school. And shortly after I finished my residency training, I was recruited by the Discovery Health Channel.
Oh.
So as the universe would have it, I was blessed to be able to combine both my passion for communication and TV and graphics and production from the discovery and documentary world. I got to couple that with my passion for medical science and neuroscience and positive psychology. So I started off as the medical director and spokesperson for Discovery Health Channel. And after a couple of years working there, I also opened up a wellness center. So I was doing television broadcasting, documentary films, and doing a holistic integrative medicine practice. And that's really where everything began for me.
Sorry, how did you get interested in this very much wider field of medicine, into the integrative and the complementary? What was it that drew you in that direction?
Well, that too came from my mother. She is also a physician. And in the 90s, when in America, there was a big epidemic with crack cocaine. Oh. And my mother was working as the medical director for the Georgia Mental Health Institute. And she got introduced to acupuncture for drug and alcohol treatment. And the first time she told me about it, I was in my 3rd year of medical school. And at the time I thought, that's crazy. You can't detox somebody from heroin or cocaine with just these little acupuncture needles. But I was shocked to find out that indeed you can. And that was really what opened my eyes and my mind to realizing there's so much more to this mind, body, spirit connection than what the traditional medical path was teaching us. So I started doing acupuncture training in my 4th year of med school. So right when I graduated, I was already trying to figure out, how do I integrate this ancient wisdom from the East with this modern approach in the West? And over the last 20 years, that's what I've done.
And did the work with the Discovery Channel, did that allow you to explore that further?
It did not, actually, in the very beginning. At the time, the Discovery Health Channel, which has now gone on to become the Oprah Winfrey Network, at the time, it was a very conservative approach. We had just launched the Health Network just a year before I started with them. So most of the documentary films that we did, and then I anchored the news as well, it was all about, you know, evidence-based things that could be backed up with studies. And we were just at the cusp of finding out how meditation, breath work, acupuncture, and even nutritional supplements, how all of those could actually work was just being discovered, or I should say, just being promoted in the media and in, you know, wider audiences. So in the beginning at Discovery, no, I didn't get to really explore all of this mind, body, spirit stuff. But after I left Discovery and started working with multiple other TV networks, I had a little more freedom to do just that.
Yeah, yeah. And so where did all this lead to? What happened next?
Well, gosh, there's so many little steps that came in between. But one of the big things that happened is I had what I call a spiritual awakening. Like so many people find in their entrepreneurial life or before their entrepreneurial life, we often feel like we have to follow these little rules, regulations, ideals from our parents or from society. And I had done that. I had gone to medical school, I got the job, I got the business, I got everything that I was told should lead to happiness, but I wasn't happy. And I especially wasn't happy when I realized there was still this very closed view of spirituality in terms of our mind, body, health. And it really led to a crisis point for me because I was on TV, I was on stages around America and Canada, and I published books and been on Oprah, and I wasn't feeling fulfilled within my soul. I felt like I wasn't even being my authentic self. And that really led me to a lot of anxiety and depression. And that depression is something that had been in my life for decades at that point. But I happened to have a wonderful vacation in the south of France where I was able to let go of all those of having this big media career and the wellness. And I had experiences here that made me recognize that there's a part of me that I wasn't fully living. And that was why I was depressed.
Yeah.
That was why I was anxious. That's why I was unfulfilled. And so kind of having, I won't go into the long story, I've written about it and talked about it online, but after that awakening and really seeing that who I am at my core is I'm really a soul or a spirit being, and all this outside stuff, it's arbitrary. It comes, it goes, whether I follow what my parents want or society or the American Medical Association. If I'm not living in alignment with my heart and my soul, I will never be fulfilled.
Yeah.
And that's what really led me to say, I got to do things differently. So the very next television deal that I got, I happened to be pregnant at the time. And of course, pregnancy was a whole nother awakening. But it really allowed me to be honest because I knew that with the little life inside of me, I didn't want to bring this baby into the world with these closed ideas, with this belief that you have to do what other people say and not follow your heart. And so it allowed me to go deeper and deeper and deeper into understanding what other cultures say about our mind and our body and our well-being. How do we really live with vitality in a world where there is societal pressures? So that's really what led me to move to the south of France. So I've been living here for 8 years. And it's what also led me to start really focusing on authenticity.
Yeah.
And I started off just consulting people here in France and Monte Carlo on brand management. You know, at that point, I had already been working for some really big major brands around the world. And people just wondered, okay, how do I do what you do? How do I get on TV? How do I get on stage? How do I get my books out there? So I started a little boutique practice, helping people really be clear about who they were, not being fake or copycats. And then over the last few years, it has blossomed into the companies that I'm running today.
And you work with a lot of what we now call light workers, people who are healers and who are trying to help other people now. Is that where your passion is now?
It is. And Pat, you know, we have friends in common who are, as we might call it, on the woo-woo side. You know, over the last 10 years, it was really a journey for me to really step into my confidence in talking about spirituality. And over the last few years, I've noticed that there are so many people awakening, whatever you want to call that, you know, getting woke, as we say in America. There's so many people that are awakening to this possibility that there's a light within us, there's a light within other people. And if we amplify that light, our lives get better, our businesses get better, our relationships get better, our health gets better. And it really became clear that I could help anyone develop a brand. I had done that for many years. But working with the so-called light workers or the spiritual entrepreneurs really is what started to feed my soul, and realizing that, wow, all of the experiences I've had over the last 2 decades in media can now be translated to a group of soulpreneurs who really want to make a difference in the world. And so I'm blessed to say that my passion for neuroscience and positive psychology, all that nerdy left brain stuff, is now matched with the more artistic, spiritual side.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So this is Pat Duckworth, and I'm talking to Dr. Andrea Pennington today. And I really love your story because it chimes in with what I hear from so many women that I talk to. And something that is very special to me is what happens to women at midlife in terms of making huge changes in their career. And recently I've been saying, I'm sure something big happens in the brain at midlife, as it does at puberty, when all this brain structure changes and we get new functionality and we lose some things and gain others. And very fortunately, I found some evidence now that this is what happens at midlife, that just as some parts of our brain are getting smaller, other parts are making new neural connections and making us more creative, finding more problem solving, different ways of doing things. So exciting times ahead for us all. So what keeps you motivated, Andrea?
Well, I think after crossing over that midlife line, if I'm there yet.
You're way too young.
Well, I don't know. I believe I will live till I'm at least 108 or 110. So I'm probably not there, but I'm 48. So for most people, I would say I've met that midlife point. And I think what most motivates me now is just really knowing that, as you're describing the changes that happen in the brain, we also know that there's a change that happens in our psyche. Yeah. Whether you've had children or not, whether you had a career outside the home or not, it doesn't matter. We get to a point of maturity where we realize that in the early parts of our lives, we were sort of out to prove ourselves or to prove something to someone, to show our dominance on this earth. Like, I can take care of myself, I can do things my way, whatever that was, whether that's in business or family making. But then there comes this shift around midlife when we start to say, okay, I've proven those things in this exterior world, but now there's something that's shifting within me that I now want to look at legacy. I want to look at true fulfillment for myself and for the people around me. And so for me, seeing that crossroads is exciting, because it means we can bring more consciousness now. I wasn't very conscious before. I was fulfilling the pressures that were on me from my childhood programming, from my societal programming. So I made choices, but it wasn't with this consciousness that I'm talking about now. Whereas when we hit midlife and beyond, we have the benefit of experience, the good and the bad. We have what we call wisdom, but we also have this opportunity to really be conscious and mindful, and to say, what is the mark that I want to leave on this world? What is that fragrance or that aroma that I want to leave on the individuals that I touch? And so that's what excites me. It's because because we're in our 4th or 5th decade of life, we don't lose energy, we don't lose passion. Like on the medical side, we know how to keep our hormones topped up and our vitality going. And so what that means is we now have energy and time, wisdom and consciousness on our side, which means we can start doing things that have such a dramatic impact on the world. And that's what excites me, really.
And what's really fabulous is that there's this sort of impression that getting older is something that makes you a bit sad and miserable, and actually the happiness levels amongst people in their 50s into their 60s, the happiness levels are rising because you're kind of getting a sense of perspective about everything.
Exactly. Like, you know a little bit more about who you are and what really matters in life. And you do learn, I believe, we do have an opportunity to learn about gratitude and really being able to savor and enjoy the present moment as we get a little bit older.
I'm guessing that you have a gratitude practice because, you know, people who have looked at themselves and their lives have a gratitude practice every day. I mean, I just put my hands over my heart every morning and say, thank you for another day. Thank you for my safety, my comfort, and the people around me. And I do the same thing at the end of every day. Do you want to share what yours is?
Mine is generally similar in terms of having it at the beginning and the end of the day. I tend to just make a list of not just things that are always in my life, like health and my family, but I also try to get really clear about this day.
Yeah.
Because I've just found that the more that we can savor even the little things, like the sun shining and the blue sky, or something like, you know, my daughter making me these delicious vegan crêpes, you know, when we can make it more specific, it adds that little, you know, serotonin and dopamine boost that we need in the brain to really feel good. But it reminds us of abundance. Like, there is so much to be grateful for. So that's what I tend to do. I tend to make a list of the specific things each day. Yeah. You know, yes, of course, there are the global things about, you know, my health and being able to live and work in a way that is in alignment with who I am.
Yeah, lovely. So what does success mean to you now?
To me right now, success means that I am able to fulfill or pursue goals that I consider to be worthy. Certainly that definition could stand at any point in time, but the definition of worthy goals 20 years ago is very different from what I consider worthy goals now. So I feel like the being able to pursue and achieve the goals that are really in alignment with my values and my soul, that for me is how I define my success.
How else do we know we're happy unless we're fulfilling our values? So,
Exactly.
Yeah. So for new entrepreneurs or new light workers, what would your top tips be?
Well, it would be starting off with values. I teach an approach to personal branding that always starts off with identifying who you say you are and, you know, what do you stand for? And that's where it comes down to values. What are the gifts or the talents that you believe you've been endowed with that you can put to use in service to other people? And when you start with that sort of a foundation, then it's much easier for you to accept that you are a personal brand. You already have a brand impression in the world. But by claiming it, it's not an egotistical thing. It's a matter of consciously saying, I'm a unique being in the world. You and I may do similar things, but we have such different qualities. When I own that, and I'm willing to say I'm comfortable and confident enough to put my skills into service for the benefit of others, that's when you can start to really identify what your brand philosophy is. So that is generally where I say all entrepreneurs should start off. It's with identifying or defining your brand identity.
Yeah, and I think that's a step that, particularly if you're a solopreneur, that you might miss out, but you don't think, oh, well, you know, brands are for big companies, it's Coca-Cola or Nike. But of course, what people say about you is your brand.
Exactly. Yeah, and being able to recognize it, acknowledge it, accept it, that these are qualities that make you you, then you can start to share that through your website, through your blogs, through videos, through whatever else you're doing to start promoting your new business. But it's critical for us to know what are those unique character strengths and personality traits that make up our brand identity, so that we can distinguish ourselves from other people in the marketplace.
And of course, the marketplace looking for authenticity. There's so much fake stuff around. If you've done that work on your brand and you're authentic with it, people respond to it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is gone are the days of people hiding behind, some shiny website. People want to connect from the heart and the soul. And so this is a real opportunity for us to be our authentic selves. We don't have to be perfect. There is no perfect human on this planet. And so people are actually really responding to authenticity, to integrity, to vulnerability, rather than being seen as weaknesses. These are our strengths and could even be our superpowers. So that's a perfect place to start.
I was at a positive psychology workshop before Christmas, and the lovely speaker was talking about us all being magnificently flawed. And it's that whole thing, I am magnificent, but I'm also flawed, and that's okay. That's what we all are, and that's what our spirits are working on. So I love that.
Exactly. We are perfectly imperfect.
Yes. So this has been far too short a time to talk to you, and I'm sure people watching will want to know more about you, Andrea. So how can they contact you and how can they find you?
Well, I'm all over social media at Dr. Andrea or Dr. Andrea Pennington. And you can visit me online with makeyourmarkglobal.com. That's the branding and marketing boutique agency and publishing agency. If you're interested in the health and well-being side of my brain, you can visit in8vitality.com. That's in the number 8 vitality.com.
Fantastic. So what have we learned today, right at the start of 2019? That happiness comes from being authentic and living your values, understanding your values so you can embody them. And that's what you can bring into your business and into your brand. And that those flaws that you've got, they're okay. We've all got them. And people relate to them. They understand you with that vulnerability. So lots there to take on board for your business. So thank you so much, Dr. Andrea. It's been so much fun talking to you.
It's been great to connect again with you, Pat. I wish you many blessings and much success, however you define it, for this new year.
Well, success for me is anything that makes me smile. So I'm smiling today. It's been successful. Have a wonderful day, and let's talk again soon. Take care now.